The first thing you should know about my friend Mrs. Filholm is that her text messages are like Buddhist koans. They're meant to be pondered and explored in one's own mind. The source of all wisdom, Wikipedia, says that koans are meant to provoke the great doubt and to practice or test the student's progress in Zen, which is exactly what Mrs. Filholm is doing when she writes, and I quote, okboomer.show, open parens, I just purchased the domain, close parens, and she provides no other information. The next thing you should know is that I don't mind these inscrutable riddles. In our years of friendship, Mrs. Filholm has been chipping away at my need for understanding and for answers, much like Michelangelo chipping away at a great lump of marble. However, in this case, Mrs. Filholm's goal looks less like the David and more like the fat Buddha.
The first thing you should know about my friend Andrew is that he's about to turn 26 years old. As we discussed in October when I turned 51, the title of this very podcast is no longer accurate. The formula is all jacked up and we don't even know who we are anymore. We've also been slapping this thing together for an entire year now, and sometimes we wonder if half my age is coming to its natural end. The next thing you should know about Andrew is that no way am I going to give up this weekly opportunity to check in with him. Dear suffering listeners, whom we love so very much, rest easy. Life is long and complicated and often really hard. An hour a week with Andrew, in which we try to make sense of the world, is one of the best things I've got going. Half my age is here to stay.
Welcome to Half My Age, a weekly show in which a 25-year-old adult and a 50-year-old child help each other make sense of the world.
I've declared it. I don't even know if you agree. we could discuss it. We could call it if we need to call it.
So I thought you were going to say, I was expecting, based on the riddle you sent me yesterday via Slack, is that you were going to, and since neither of us will be half of the other person's age, you're just going to rebrand it as okboomer.show.
That seems like it would be crazy.
It does seem a little crazy.
Not
in all the crazy things you've done, that's one of the less crazy ones.
Yeah, it might make sense. There's no reason to. Half my age is a concept.
Well, we've built up such a tremendous brand here.
Devoted following that brand. You don't want to mess with that, Andrew. That would be mental. You
certainly don't.
Yeah, that would be mental. So no, I bought it. Well, I was just giving you things to talk about today. I was giving you topics. I like that you think they're koans.
They are koans because there's never any context. You sent me 3 New Yorker cartoons.
Right.
And then you told me you bought the domain okboomer.show.
Right. I was just working.
And I'm not sure what to make of that. Granted, I know that I'm not just like the sound of one hand clapping, you're not meant to know exactly what it means. Mm-mm. You're just supposed to sit and ponder on it.
I guess. I mean, okay, New Yorker articles, you are not wrong that they are a bit like Buddhist koans, right? New Yorker, cartoons are often
well, when you send a New
like
Yorker
that.
as a message, it's a koan within a koan.
It's not though, because
it's
the
koans all the way down.
But the one I sent you, the first one I sent you was just so obvious. It's like a couple at a cocktail party, and it just says, "Our son has decided to become a comedian, so we're getting a nasty divorce." That's not a riddle. That's obvious why I would send that to you. That's just funny. And then the other one was right. People sending around saying, I'm thinking about stopping a podcast. That's funny because it's ironic because nobody's stopping a podcast, Andrew. Everybody's starting one.
Right. I understand the joke there, but you followed it with you just bought a new domain.
Okay. Sorry. That is confusing. I understand that part. You're right. And sometimes I do, and I don't mind that you have to puzzle them out. I bought the domain because I have been thinking about a different podcast. I mean, I've been long thinking about a different podcast about parenting teenagers. And one of the things, I think I've talked about it on here a little bit, something that I heard recently, a friend of mine, a cousin of mine, actually, a friend of hers, AP English teacher or something, and was doing a TED Talk on something she had recently done in the high school classroom, which was ask the students, what do you want adults to know? Mm-hmm. That's so simple. We don't do it enough. We don't do it enough. And I love that idea. And so I'm thinking of just starting to lay down some stuff where I record just interviews with some young people, and I don't know what to do with it, but I just thought last night, I went, okay, boom. I've also got this idea of something live, interactive between the generations, maybe comedy that I'm just thinking about. But Okay Boomer is a funny thing to call it because I think at this point it stands for any fight between any of the
It
generations.
seems like a particularly good name for what you're describing.
Okay, good. Thanks, man.
Okay, Boomer, here's what you need to understand about us.
And also, and then also right back at you from the Gen X's and the Boomai going, here's whatever the conversation. I mean, you and I, this is one of our, right? This is an intergenerational conversation. And we do talk about things from different perspectives, but this idea of, opening it up, I don't know. Anyway, so I bought the domain last night after checking with some comedy boys who were here recording their podcast because they're not stopping a podcast, starting one. And I asked them, I came back, I stood in your little area right there and they were over here recording.
Nope,
I bet my mic is funny, but that probably doesn't matter. Anyway, I asked them what we think the longevity of OK Boomer is, but then we discussed that even if it's gone in a month and a half, it was a moment in the zeitgeist it's still a good name. Okay.
People will. I mean, I suppose every day someone's born who doesn't know what that OK Boomer is funny, but people of a certain age will always remember that.
Yeah, they'll remember the thing. I got to tell you, I'm really impressed by Baby Jeff. He set my mic back to my settings when he left last night.
Very nice.
That is nice. Good job, Jeff Stonek.
I would have told you if you sounded funny, and you sound normal.
The only thing would be that it's multi-directional. He had it set to that because there's two of them sitting here. I don't know that you'd be able to tell in the headphones, would you?
Perhaps not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, what is the average speed velocity of a laden swallow, really?
It depends. Is it an African swallow or a European swallow?
Well done. Well, I think that it's equivalent to the sound of two coconuts being...
one hand clapping sounds like a man riding a horse without a horse.
Yep. All right. Well, that's good, Andrew. Happy birthday coming up. Was that me?
What was the noise? It sounded to me like I went to breathe and I let out like this. Yeah. I surprised myself a little.
I think it was a notification, but hard to tell. Happy almost birthday, Andrew Bridges.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be 26. I've purchased my own health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
I've even paid for the first month already, like an adult. I will be covered. There's nothing else that happens at 26.
No, just that your podcast is no longer
right. That your podcast is even less relevant than it ever was before, and that
I wasn't going to say relevant. I was going to say accurate.
And you're now on the hook for $300 and something a month to health insurance. I hate. Not only are you required to have it in a time where it doesn't seem like you even need it, but it doesn't cover anything.
Isn't that something? I know. You're gonna end. I know. I know.
Even if you go for a full blown fancy plan, the amount of money that you're expected to pay for something you're already paying for to the tune of 4 or 5. I don't know how much one of the fancy plans is because I didn't get it, but I imagine you're in the $400 or $500 a month range
for your age.
Yeah, and then it doesn't pay for anything.
I know. No, it's stunning.
I get problematic with my cheap insurance. I get a flu shot, and then I think I have to pay $3,000 out of pocket before insurance kicks in anything at all.
The deductible, yeah.
And then it's going to kick in not for all the stuff. It's only a very small amount that it kicks in, from $3,000 to $6,000, and then ultimately, if it hits $6,000, I think they start paying for everything. But good Lord, what a pain in the dick. It's not easy to understand.
Oh, no. Oh, isn't it? Oh, no. That's one of the, right. And I'm in it too. And I'm not employed that way by somebody who just decides it for me. And I don't have my husband. That's the truth. That has been a blue job in our family. Tal has handled it. Yes. Yeah. And it's always come with his job. Mm-hmm. And to tell you the truth, we have mostly had very good insurance. And I have, over the years, I have thanked Tal's employers for that because it's a relatively small company, and I have in person said to them, "Thank you very much that our insurance is pretty good." Now, no, and it's ironical for me because of course I'm getting older. That's not okay. Well, let's talk about medical stuff. That's even less fun than insurance, if you ask me. But grateful for insurance. I would like to give an update on my father.
Please do.
And I'm going to try to prevent it from being a rant, but oh my gosh, we have had a frustrating time. He's very, very sick. My dad is very ill. And I think I've mentioned it on here that he was getting violent. Maybe I haven't. Mm-hmm. In about the past month, he's gone downhill a lot, and he was having outbursts at sundowning. It kind of is typical of some dementia patients that they sundown and then they they just get wackadoo at night. But he was attacking people and being violent, which is very, very hard for all of us to hear because my father was honestly the most gentle human being. He wasn't perfect, but he was so, so gentle. I rarely heard him raise his voice, and he certainly never, was physical with us. So this is problematic for the people taking care of him, even in a home where they really are lovely to him. So anyway, he's been sent to the ER a couple of times to sedate him. And the sedation they put him on in the ER is the medical, like the nurses at his home and stuff are just like, they are, what's the word? They are alarmed by the amount of sedation in his system when he comes back. They're just like, oh, God, he got this. Oh, wow.
That can't help it.
Doesn't help it. But keeps him calmer. Okay, so we had this fun little thing that happened where the home that is keeping him now, the home where he lives, they really have been great. It's the second home, and they really are devoted to meeting his needs. They are not maybe always equipped, but they will bring in more people. They have improvised solutions. They're so loving and so, I've been very impressed, and it hasn't been easy for them. And some of their residents have been hurt by my father. And so they, for a variety of reasons, they came up with this idea that we were going to take him to a place for about 3 weeks of medical and behavioral evaluation by real experts in geriatric and in dementia. And he was going to go to this place in Fort Morgan and be there for an evaluation and get him just more stable so that they could take it back.
There was a thought that maybe this was being caused by some kind of drug imbalance.
Exactly right.
And if you could go and dry him out for a little bit, give him a little bit of a hard reset.
That's right.
Perhaps he wouldn't be having these violent outbursts.
That's right. Give him this reset. Well, it turns out he ended up having the reset, but it didn't look like that. They got it. So he wasn't accepted to the first place because of insurance reasons. So that day, this is a week ago, not even a week ago.
Insurance strikes again.
Oh, wait till you hear this. Yeah. And then the second place that they found, which was in Aurora, so closer to me. So we thought he had been transferred there, but they called me and said they need an EKG from him. And they can't sedate him heavily because they need a real EKG. So we're going to take him to the hospital via ambulance, and might be ugly. They're going to have to hold him down, but they're going to try to get an EKG. And then as soon as they get that baseline, then this place in Aurora will take him. So that was Friday night, and over Friday night, we didn't hear anything else. My mom didn't hear anything else. Saturday, didn't hear anything.
Can I ask you, this place in Aurora, is it designed to fulfill a similar thing that the one in Fort Morgan did?
Yes.
This is a get him better kind of place?
Get him stable kind of place. And yes, with real, the truth is, like, the biggest thing I think that we understood was that there would just be medical on him all the time versus in these homes, the home where he is, it's not. It's aides and, people like that. And the doctor only comes once a week or whatever. So it was sort of like full medical supervision was the idea. And then, doing some experiments and figuring out how to get him more stable. So that was Friday night. Saturday morning, no calls. I just finally I was feeling icky about it. So I called the place in Aurora where he had been taken. They didn't have him there.
Good Lord.
Yep. He was still in the emergency room. Here's what happened. My father it's not considered a medical emergency because he's not sick, is what they say.
Sure.
You look at that man. My father at this point is tweaking, ripping his clothes off. He was in, it's called a posy bed. It's a cage. And he was in a cage in the emergency room for more than 3 days because the place in Aurora couldn't take him. We still have heard not why. We still haven't heard exactly why. If it was insurance or they didn't have a bed or what, but he didn't make it there. And then they can't check him into the hospital because it's not a medical emergency, but he can't go to a psych ward or a psych hospital anywhere in the state because dementia is not a mental illness.
Good Lord.
Good Lord is right. And we were being told by everybody, your family is right now in this very awful loophole, hole in the system, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And you're looking at a real sick person and going, are you telling me that this person isn't sick enough? Oh, is that right? So he was held there. And I'm lucky that I called a particular friend to ask for what our rights are and what advice. And I mean, just lost. I had no idea. If one of these places won't take him, what are we looking at? And then there were also huge gaps in communication. I don't understand why when when you're at the hospital with a patient who is incapacitated and they say, well, do you have the list of his meds? And it's like, no, I don't. But I know you do. I know it's all computerized. You know what I mean? Like, I know that they send his records over and all this stuff. And this weird lack of communication. And then people on my dad's home side fighting for one thing. And then social workers getting involved and they're trying to help. And anyway, then the next thing I knew, I was suddenly fighting them. They, at the hospital, the caseworkers they were operating under the assumption now that they just had to discharge him. And this friend that I called about how to handle this is a paramedic. And he goes, I see this happen all the time. We check people into the ER and it is just, they just try to get him back out on the streets. And I mean, he's talking like street people and stuff.
There's a special code. It's like a phone tree with Comcast. But instead of saying fuck, operator, fuck, operator, what you have to say is, danger to themselves and others, danger to themselves and others, danger to themselves and others. And it's such a pain in the ass bullshit kind of thing because the people who you're supposed to be telling this to, they don't want to hear that because they don't want to keep him around either. You know, just like he's a danger to himself and others, he's a danger to them, and they'd prefer not to have him in that room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everybody couldn't wait to get rid of. Anyway, so then there became this understanding. I realized as I'm talking to the caseworker at the hospital, because we just keep calling. It's like no room at the inn. They're calling around
You'll
to
have
find
to
a
have
place
your
for my
baby in the
dad.
barn, lady.
And at the time, I mean, I'm glowing. My dad is naked in a cage in the hospital. A manger would be far more humane. Obviously, I was getting Christmassy about it. Anyway, they were operating under the understanding that my dad was getting kicked out of his current home. And we were operating under the assumption that he was getting stabilized and they had a bed for him. And we had very much been told that by them. And my mom was going to pay for that bed for the, I then had to I can hear myself just raising my voice to people who are caregivers and throwing little fits and being really a bitch. I went in person to the hospital one time to deal with it. And then the next day it was on the phone for hours. Long story short, the right thing has happened. My father is receiving that full medical evaluation, but in a different way because he's in hospice now. So we have moved him back to Applewood, which is his home, where they are wonderful. And he has a private room now. Before he shared a room. And he's in a hospital bed, and he is pretty sedated, and he does not ever seem at peace. And hospice they are angels on earth. I've always known this. I've worked with hospice people. When I worked for Race for the Cure, hospice, of course, means end of life. It means palliative care. It means my mother did have to sign.
What does palliative mean?
Comfort only.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom had to sign, and now that it's hospice, you have to
DNR.
Go down. And you have to go all the way down the list on the DNR of won't no medicine, no, let the body shut down if that's what's happening here. No food and water by IV.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know for sure, but I think general consensus is when these new hospice nurses who are wonderful look at him, they think the end is likely very near. And of course,
he doesn't look any different than their usual patient.
Well, I don't think there is any usual patient with dementia. He looks a lot different, and they don't know. And he's paradoxically responding to medicines, so they don't know. But at this point, and they're talking to me and going, like, oh, so recently he was walking, and I said, 2 weeks ago tomorrow it will be.
2 weeks ago tomorrow, he knocked someone's block off.
Well, but 2 weeks ago tomorrow, 2 weeks ago, George and I went up there and walked 20 times around the little circle they have for him. He was walking fine. Now he can't walk. He falls. Some of it is definitely the meds and all of it have made him worse. That amount of, I think, what's it called? Knocking him out. Anyway, he's not going to get better. And I pray that it will go fast. His life is miserable. So it was a very, very epically emotional few days for me and my family. And seeing my dad like that, spending time with him like that, also knowing there's nothing else I would do, but it's awful and it feels very inhumane. And if my father is truly at the end of his life, which it looks like, and what you're seeing here is like, you can't believe that a life has been reduced to that. I would sit there. I didn't sleep well all weekend. For about 4 days. I just fantasized about taking him up to the mountaintop or something. there are more humane ways to end your life than in a cage naked in an emergency room. Oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty awful.
That high school that I went to that you taught at, I remember vaguely a debate we had in one of the classes, probably an English class, about this also could have been college, but it's better if I frame it as Catholic high school. Denmark or some Scandinavian company had just legalized doctor-assisted suicide. And coming from the Catholic perspective, life is sacred, and there's all kinds of other options and opportunities to do the right thing versus taking a life, which is always wrong, they say. But I don't know the Catholic doctrine writers. I don't know how much they've dealt with aggressive, abusive Alzheimer's and like you said, naked in a cage. That's no way to live. That sucks.
It's awful. I have said for a long time, if my dad were not so Catholic, I think he would have looked into it, because it became legal here right around the time that he was losing.
Is it legal?
Mm-hmm. Some version of in Colorado, and also on your death certificate, it would say, for example, Alzheimer's. It would not say that the cause of death is the terminal disease. Mm-hmm. And I have told my boy, please, yeah, I don't want to be a burden like this, and I don't want to live like that, and neither would my dad. He wouldn't want to see it. It's just, my mom will never hear this. That's the only fear about talking about it in public, is that I think it's humiliating. But what this physically strong person is reduced to. I kept saying, if you saw an actor playing this in a movie or a stage show, because it's very King Lear to me.
You'd think it was overdone.
Totally right. You would be like, oh, okay, buddy, really chewing the scenery. Okay, I get it that you were doing this thing and that, hitting your head against the wall. Okay, that's a crazy person. I get it. Oh, but now you're going to take that heat register from the floor and start sawing a piece of wood, imaginary piece of. Okay. Oh, now you're grasping at spiders that we can't see. Mm-hmm, sure. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You would think it was overdone. Oh my God, it seemed like, I kept saying it seemed like King Lear, just such a thing, and really cool. And then on top of that, the human emotion of it. Having to fight the system and having to fight the system.
Having no one on your side.
No one on your side.
At least the facility that he's in has been helpful along the way.
They have done.
But they can't convince the ER people to. The ER people are concerned with covering their ass. Even if you do get a compassionate person, their boss and the meetings they go to tell them that they need to be on the lookout for liabilities and.
Oh, totally. And most of them are compassionate people, even the social work. I keep having to remind myself that when I'm talking to them. None of these people is in it for the money. And they keep reminding me that, because at the house, the dad's house, they are so, so dear. And I keep saying, oh my God, you don't get paid enough. And they keep saying, we're not in this for the money. And I get it. And I also remind my mother, she and I both understand that construct. We were teachers. We weren't in it for the money. I served a lot of time and a lot of hours and a lot of mental energy on people beyond my pay grade, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So maybe this is payback, because so have my parents. They have been good, service-minded members of the community. But, oh my God, no, that's right. And you're yelling at the people who literally are going, it's not my fault. I don't have the agency. I'm yelling at the people sometimes who are the ones very kindly telling me, your family is stuck in a catch-22 here. Here's what we're going to try to do to get around it. Bleep, bleep, bloop. But yeah, that's the thing. Every one of them means well. What a shitty job. All of it. George did that EMT school, and I've heard that from these paramedic kind of people. Sometimes so frustrating, because their hands are tied. They can't save a life. Mm-hmm. They literally cannot give a diabetic insulin, even if they're, without a doctor's order kind of thing, because of liability. Oh my gosh. And then you go, okay, that's great that we're so hyperactive about liability. That is me. It's time to call in. We're on a different day now. So we're recording on a different day. It is call in to the New Talent Night hotline at Comedy Works.
Do you need to do that real quick?
No. Do you need to do something real quick? Okay.
I was just trying to note the last thing you were saying. That's great that we're all concerned about liability or something.
Yeah. We're all concerned about liability, but then the truth is what we do is we put them back out on the street.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't care for them. It's like very weird. Anyway, and then and at a certain point when we did not know where Dad was going, and it felt like no room at the inn, and I still understood that we were trying to find a place to get him stabilized, and at that point they were just trying to get him out the door. It became very weird. But I'm not kidding. I feel like I lost 4 days of my life.
I can imagine. That is a awfully big weight to carry.
Oh my God. It was a lot. And then just a lot of the, okay, and actually that's probably about, I'm done with it because I don't want to talk about it anymore. I mean, I've just been processing it a lot and writing emails about it and things like that. I don't remember the thing I was saying, but it doesn't matter. So that's a very sad thing. But right now, I think we all feel a little bit more relief. We feel like probably my mom will stop getting emergency calls and having to deal with things.
Mm-hmm. How's your mom?
You know, it's hard.
I
Yeah. Like,
imagine.
I'm sure, I didn't even talk to her yesterday. We exchanged messages, but I'm sure like me, I mean, I was so tired yesterday. I still am. I kind of feel like crap today. I was so tired yesterday after it was finally settled that, I mean, I just kept having to go, I gotta lie down. I went to bed before 10 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
That's the life I live. Isn't that great?
Mm-mm. No, I hope you're not that tired all the time.
No, I don't have to be
tired.
because I go to bed before 10.
Well, then I woke up at 3:15 in the morning. I do sleep faster than everybody else, and if I go to bed early, I'm just going to get up early. It's frustrating. Anyway, that's a sad thing, and it's not, you know, but maybe there is some relief now. I am not kidding. The hospice nurses are amazing, and they say all of the right things. Here is where something went beautifully well. Medicaid, Medicare, Medicaid
Mm-hmm.
pays for 100% of hospice.
Oh, there you go.
I know it. So here I mean, after just raging at the machine about costs and all of it and insurance being so stupid, suddenly, and then we just went, oh, okay, great. So I guess that's what I was saying before when I lost my train of thought, is that we were looking at placing him somewhere, and then it finally became, they mentioned hospice, which they had mentioned earlier in that week, and they also mentioned, we think, a different diagnosis. It's not responding like Alzheimer's. At this case, it doesn't matter much. You never know until postmortem autopsy. But there's a thing called Lewy body. I think we talked about it last week. Lewy body
No, I don't know
dementia.
if we talked about it on the show.
Because Robin Williams had it. So it is, I mean,
An
it's
abundance of joy.
Yeah.
An overabundance of joy.
No, it's an overabundance of some plaques and shit in the brain. But it specifically makes you violent. And these hallucinations, the hallucinations are just, it's terrible. But his body is also responding. His speech is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Gone. Almost no words at all. So again, may this be brief. May this be swift. My father is a believer, and he, in his heart and his mind, he's been waiting to go home to paradise his whole life. So he lived a good life. Time to go, Daddy. I hope that can happen. I wish it could have happened with less. Yeah, awful.
A little bit more peaceful.
Yeah. Literally what you say, you know, people, you hope they go peacefully or hope they go quick. Oh, golly. Literally the opposite of that.
Neither of those, yeah.
No, none. Okay, but that's that follow-up. Do we have anything happier to talk about, do you think?
Do we have anything happier? I got an interesting request last night.
Great.
A friend of the show reached out, and they knew that in a previous job, I was responsible for, monitoring online communications to large brands. And this person had a bad experience with a company, and they wanted to know how they could really make the company feel their bad experience via Twitter.
Twitter, sure.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I was doing at this last job. I was looking for those for the people who are on a to people who have been injustice and they really want to tell you about it.
You were looking for complainers is what you were doing. You were looking for complainers that might hurt or
that might harm the brand.
Help a company's brand.
Right.
Okay, so that's what you're looking for. Can you share more about what?
Well, I can share it because I think this is a common thing that a lot of people go through. And the first thing I had to do was I had to share the wisdom of Merlin Man, and this should be written on everybody's heart, which is that be careful how you do this because people aren't going to remember that you're right or wrong. They're going to remember that you're an asshole who argues on the internet. Right. And this person, I think the first thing I told them was just be careful because when someone Googles you, especially if your Twitter account's tied to your actual name, this is going to be, if you get what you're looking for and this does become a big deal, it's going to be the first thing they see about you. So just keep that in mind. And then the second piece of advice that I suggested is take a minute and be truly targeted about this. Maybe you go on LinkedIn, maybe you do searching on Twitter. Look for someone at that company who has, VP in their title, and might be empowered to do something, and then message them directly. Start there. Yes.
Start there. That's better than just bitching publicly about American Airlines or whatever.
I've learned that a lot of these mid-level executives, not only are they on Twitter, especially with consumer-facing brands, they're on Twitter, and there's in the communications portion of the company and the marketing portion of the company, they're actually looking at this stuff. So if you can talk to one of them directly, and the VP thing is important because they're actually empowered to do something, try that first. Maybe you CC the brand handle.
Sure.
But try to keep it as small potatoes and private as you can.
Private message, you're saying.
Initially.
Start there. Okay.
Right.
Like it. Yep.
And see what happens there. It might work. It might not work. But if it does work, you've saved yourself you've saved face. So you don't have to be a public asshole.
And if it worked, it worked. So yay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, is your electric blanket working? Speaking of which, I think mine is also not working now.
Mine's working. We might have overloaded your circuit or something.
No, it's on.
I guess you're right.
Electricity, you were the one who told me it's not like halfway. Okay, keep going. Continue.
So that's my initial advice. Ultimately, you can get nasty. Create a throwaway account if you're going to do that. Try to keep it as separate from your personal self as possible.
It's very prudent advice. Did they follow it, and have they had success?
I'm not sure yet. I'll have to follow up next week. This happened late last night.
Oh, okay. Do you care about telling us the company?
Yeah, it's Car Toys.
Oh, interesting.
Which is a brand that I don't think of as being particularly, I was saying at the beginning of this episode how we've built up so much credibility with the Half My Age brand.
Yeah.
I don't think of Car Toys as being I know them to be big because they advertise all the time, but I think of them as installing discount stereos.
Right.
So I don't know how concerned about their brand they really are.
Oh, I bet they are. They advertise a lot. They must be concerned about it.
Yeah, so we'll see.
They advertise a lot on the radio while you're driving in your car, I guess.
Mm-hmm. A better way to go.
I know. I was going to sing it, but then I thought I don't want to give them free publicity because my understanding right now from one of our listeners or your friends is that they're not good. So I'm not giving them that free.
A crummy way to go.
A crummy way to go. Damn it. Well, I can't wait for that follow-up.
Car Toys.
Are you on
overpromise and
Andrew?
underdeliver.
That's nice.
I am on the
Kruger
Twitter.
Industrial Smoothers. We don't care and it shows. You are on Twitter. Do you follow? Do you look at it every day?
I look at Twitter. I'm a lurker, not a poster.
Yeah.
And I look at it most every day.
I can't even with the Twitter anymore, and I know I'm wrong.
Well, Twitter, like all social media, is 100%. Your experience depends on who you follow.
No, I know.
And how you interact with it.
I should be able to curate myself a nice little Twitter something, but instead I had, I don't want to do it because I spend so much time on Facebook because that's where the comedy crap is. Mm-hmm. It's also where I get a lot of feedback on my books and stuff. Like parents appear to be on damn Facebook, and Instagram less so for me now, which is funny because I prefer that platform. I hate Facebook so much, but it's like my reality, and then I just get yuck. I don't want to go out and look at another one.
Yeah.
It's enough.
I used to get so much enjoyment from curating my feed.
Yeah.
And I don't. It's kind of like gardening. One of the reasons I don't care for gardening is no matter how much effort you put into, there's always going to be weeds.
But you can pull weeds.
You can pull weeds.
I did like gardening this summer.
New weeds sprout in their place.
They sure do. No, you're very right. And that's the thing. Like, I look even now at my Facebook feed. It is junked up with so many. You know what's junked up with? Memes. Because I'm part of this group on Facebook that other comics are part of. Mm-hmm. And, I honestly feel like I have to be part of it. And some of the memes, it's how I stay current. But it's so annoying. It's nobody's original memes. It's people putting stuff that's funny. Mm-hmm. Or New Yorker cartoons. I did share that. That's the lamest one of all. The lamest thing anyone has ever posted on that little page is me posting that thing about our son wants to be a comedian. But everybody liked it because we get it. No, and so that's the thing. So many weeds in what I'm looking at now. But I also go, well, what I have right now is a very weedy wildflower garden where it is better to get I'm losing the metaphor here, but right now it's in my interest to just have all those numbers and all those contacts out there, and it does pay off. My dumb little show for my book sale in Denver on a Tuesday night, that wasn't bad. We had over 50 people at a show. That wasn't bad. That's because of Facebook. Ugh.
Well, I got to tell you, for some reason, no reason in particular, I decided to deactivate my Facebook account because
you did it while you were sitting here last week.
I'm not in the comedy scene.
I know. You accepted my cousin Bradley's request and then you went off it.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, I don't use Facebook for nearly anything. But the very next day, I got a call from my grandmother who has an iPad with one app that she uses, which is Safari, which is tuned directly to Facebook.
Okay.
The open page in her browser is Facebook. So she opens up her iPad, she clicks the little Safari compass.
I'm familiar with this kind of machination.
It takes her directly to Facebook. And she, even though I have not posted in multiple years, one of the first things she always sees on Facebook is me.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't see it. And she called. And she said, "Hey, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in Facebook.
Can't find you.
I'm looking at this other relative, this more distant relative. How do I get back to you?"
Oh.
And I said,
"Oh."
First of all, I had forgotten that I shut down my Facebook account. So I was going through
trying to troubleshoot,
as you say, all the machinations of getting her back to the Facebook homepage.
Yeah.
And I finally get her there and realize, oh my goodness, I'm not on Facebook anymore. No matter how much I tell her to scroll up and down,
she's not gonna see you.
She's not gonna see me. And I felt so bad.
That's a great loss to her, isn't it, Andrew?
The is shitty as Facebook is.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I hate the service and you hate the service, and everybody, it seems like everybody who uses it begrudgingly.
Seems like it.
There's still a place for it.
Oh, and you know what the funny thing is for me, it is often family. I have said that over the years. If it weren't for Facebook, I wouldn't even know that certain cousins had new babies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very happy to know that they had new babies. That's cute. That's sort of cute. That's your grandma. Oh, yeah. And my mom, oh, golly. I mean, she still is confused about things like, she'll still get a little salty if like, well, Augie got a haircut and she didn't see it on Facebook. It's like, you don't. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So what are you going to do about that? Just leave grandma hanging? You've got brothers.
I'm gonna try it out. In Christmas is past. We bought grandma a photo picture frame, and I think that became more of a project than we wanted to deal with. So I'm gonna see if I can get a more I don't know whether it's easy to use or fully set up, like digital picture frame or something, that kind of thing. And then she can still see her grandbabies.
But you're not going back on Facebook.
I don't feel like it.
I know, it's fine. Just for your grandma. Yeah, just you check in with her enough. She was mostly just panicked, I'm sure. She can accept the new reality that Andrew isn't on Facebook. I guarantee it.
I'm sure she can. She's a very strong lady.
She's a very strong lady. She can do that. Was it last year, 2 years ago, that, it was before that you gave your grandparents like the Echo Dot or whatever, Google Home?
Yeah, they got a
And every year I think about that, like getting my mom and Alexa, and I go, no.
I haven't checked in when we started this podcast.
You mostly cut out what you're about to say.
Oh, okay. I went through, since her Google Home Mini is connected to my Google account, I can see all the things it thinks it heard.
I honestly, we talked about it and it was so funny, but then you felt badly. That was like in our second episode of this podcast, and you thought your family didn't want to be talked about. Now you know they so totally do. Can you please tell us what your grandma looks at on the Google, what she asks it? Because it's very cute.
It's going to take me some time to pull up her actual stuff. But at the time, she asked all of the different local TV stars. She'd always say, "How old is Dave Logan? Hey, Google, how old is whatever?" Oh, there goes my...
I know, don't stay dingus. You know better than that.
Hey, dingus, how old? And she had...
It was ages of actors and celebrities.
Mostly local celebrities and athletes.
Athletes, right. John Elway was one of them, I remember. And then the weather.
And I think she did the weather a couple times. A lot of, hey, Google, what's the time? Hey, dingus, what's the time?
The time. So time and birth dates, because I remember you saying that, and like actually that was about it. It wasn't weather, it wasn't other stuff.
And I was a little, I mean, it was kind of funny to see it, but I was a little sad and frustrated because this thing can do so much. It can answer so many questions.
I know.
And she didn't have the prompts to work
Didn't know how to use it. I mean, I had no idea what on earth that could be used for. To tell you the truth, when I had an Alexa, I didn't exactly know all the ways to use it too. And I mostly would say, you know, how do you spell hemorrhoids? And we played that, you know, Jeopardy. That's fun, but not really fun. I mean, I also didn't use it, whatever. But the thing is, right, it's a tool, and I know that frustration, and it is a generational thing sometimes. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just different people and the way they use things. Like, no, but you can use it for this. Yeah, but it's the birthday machine. It tells, and you don't know why she needs to know birthdays, but she wants to know.
The thing that got me, that I was so... The feature I really wanted her to use is the music stuff. You can ask it to play any song.
Right.
And it will just play it.
Right.
That is such an amazing thing. Yeah. So I went online and someone made a spectacular cheat sheet of, you know, all the different things you could do with this device at that time. And I laminated it.
Oh, yep, I remember that.
And I put it, you know, or she put it right next to her Google Home Mini.
Mm-hmm.
And never used
it.
It's such a bummer.
A little sheet of all the things you could do with it, like play music and ask for directions and recipes and things like that you'd think she would. Yeah, I know. Oh, well, do you have more on that?
I'm still looking. If I can find this this hidden page and
it's
Google
also
account.
Okay if you can't, because we don't really need to mock the details of it. But I do want to tell you one thing, because what I was just saying is that for my mom now, especially living alone with my dad gone, I was thinking it might be kind of a companion. You know what I mean? It's someone there to ask a question to now and again. I could see Alexa or Google Home becoming a friend. I want to tell you something on that path of subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
I love my DJ Roomba iRobot vacuum. He's DJ like
Roomba?
It's like a pet.
It is like a pet, isn't it?
It's like a little pet. Like last night, it was going yesterday afternoon, and it was going, and these comedy boys come over and use my studio space for their podcast. So this guy arrived, and I'm walking him back here, and I felt compelled.
To introduce him?
Well, no, I showed him. I was like, well, I've got my vacuum going, my robot. No, when I was leaving the dollhouse to come back to the studio, I wanted to tell the Roomba, I'll be back. I'll be right back. Just running out to it. So it's like my pet. And I figured out now where to keep it. I have a perfect place for it. And I like invested a little bit in just time in like taping up cords there so it can dock there and it never will bother me. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I love it. It's like a little pet. That's weird.
I love mine too. And Whiskers is we'll put the link in show notes again, by the way. Whiskers used to be amused by this thing and now he's annoyed by it.
Is he?
And when Whiskers acts up, I look at him and I say, you need to start pulling your weight like Ferdinand.
Yeah. No kidding. Nando there cleans the floors. Oh, that's funny. You have a good son, bad son. Because
that's
Whiskers
right.
makes the messes and Nando picks them up. Wow. Okay. I'm glad to know that it's not completely lunatics. I mean, it is.
It's like
a pet to me.
Granted, I don't want a dog. This is just a figure of speech. But it's like the dog I always wanted, which is that when you drop something on the floor.
Picks it up.
The dog picks it up.
And then when you tell it, go home, goes to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Night, little... I love my DJ Roomba. I really, truly do love my floors being cleaner. It has inspired me to do I have a little new piece of furniture.
What'd you get?
Well, you know, I have that big glass coffee table on my sheepskin rug, which is not actually that functional because just like space, you have to reach out when you're sitting there on it's not good.
It's not big enough, not tall enough. What's the problem with it?
I think too far away from the couch and then the chairs where I want everything around the couch. It's just not that convenient to sit your beer down while you're sitting in my living room. Yeah, kind of. Not super convenient. And so I looked at it. Just, you know, I've lived here a while now. Now I know how to use the space. So I got two little QB things that can be their cushion. They can be seats or end tables, or you can put your feet up on them. And then I got trays, you know, like that kind of thing, sectionals. I got very, very nice ones. And I'm looking at them like, I probably could have gotten something like this at Target or IKEA for sure.
Sure.
And I wonder if I should have done. But anyway, really like one I got. The other one I had to have made. It's coming because I wanted them to match and not be separate. It doesn't matter. But anyway, I'm very excited about it. But part of that was actually spurred on by the Roomba. I just love how clean my floors are. And I don't know, something just about putting things in better spaces so that thing can get through. I'm just loving it. So that continues to be our recommendation. You said we'll put that in show notes. It's almost Christmas in real life, in real time when they listen to this.
I love that. Like I think I've mentioned previously, it's my birthday, and then it's Jesus' birthday. Before both of our birthdays is my father's birthday. It's just like a boom, boom, boom. It's all happening one right after the next. Your snaps are better than mine, but I got okay snaps.
I don't have good snaps at all. Those are better than mine.
They sound good through the microphone.
Yeah,
maybe,
they did.
Maybe people on the other side of this recording, maybe they're thinking, wow, how do these people snap so well?
Snappers. It must just sound good, and maybe the right amount of moisture in the air because I'm not a good snapper. Or whistler. Yeah, I know. Birthday's Christmas. Yay. I cannot pick up any excitement for Christmas. Do you guys have a Christmas tree in your little apartment?
Delaney and I know. But I was thinking about it. But
that's nice. I don't.
We got to get a disposable one because we can't store a Christmas tree.
First of all, there's a thing called real Christmas trees. That's what sort of traditionally one does. They are disposable. But that's how I feel too, storing it.
I have to run that by Nando to see if he minds picking up pine needles.
He doesn't. Be fine with that. I do have some greenery in my bathroom. I didn't get a tree, but I got some sprigs. No, they don't mind it. DJ Roomba's happy to pick up those needles.
Maybe I'll hang a wreath or something.
I've hung the wreaths on you've seen.
Your wreaths, it looks
so
just
cute.
Like when you bought the fence, I commented that it looks like a Kentucky horse property.
Yeah, it does now.
It really does with
so
those
cute.
wreaths.
Maybe that'll be our show art just for the holidays because it's so cute and it so looks like I live in like nice middle America. I don't. But it's better. The zombies don't
You don't live in nice middle America, but you do live in middle America.
I do, but not nice.
It's not the nice part.
No,
you're on the other side of the
No,
tracks.
it looks like I live in like such a sweet little small town, and it's one block off of Colfax. That's so funny. I love my wreaths. I have done, like I said, I bought some greenery. I hung a couple of lights. I hung 2 strands of lights in my corner windows in the front for Rafiki's benefit because, oh my God, she goes ham. She has so much Christmas stuff up. I don't care this year, and I wonder if that's because I'm sad. I don't see the point of it. I have so many things I want to be working on, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
And then I keep getting disrupted by things like having to care for, my aging father and shit, that I'm just like, why would I spend the hours to put up a Christmas tree and decorate it, and then I just have to take it down later? Who's it for? The only people who come over here do not care if I have a Christmas tree. You know what I mean? George Filholm, I would make it for him. He and I would probably spend Christmas together, do something. But, like, he doesn't care.
What is the thing they were talking, John and Merlin were talking, the reward is, it is its own reward?
Its own reward?
Putting up the Christmas tree is, I think it's supposed to be its own reward.
And it's not for me. No reward in that. And honestly, just, what would I even do with it? And then taking it down and, oh, yeah.
It is our British listeners, they'd call that a FAFF. It's a big thing.
They call it a FAFF?
A FAFF. I got to look up what that means
nice.
Exactly.
I don't know about that. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people take so much joy in it. I'm just sitting here feeling very curmudgeonly and Scrooge-like this year, and I don't know why. I don't know why.
This is the perfect word to add to your quiver of word arrows, which is a FAFF is an overcomplicated task, especially when perceived as a waste of time.
Yeah.
That's a FAFF.
It's great. I love it. That's how I feel about it. That is so humbug about Christmas, but I don't know what to tell you. I cannot make myself just care. I'm not particularly
You don't have to.
aggro about it. I'm just, I don't have to. It's fine. Just weird. But then I was also thinking about the only years I swear that I really loved Christmas after I was a child. I liked it when my boys were little pretty much. I mean, that was fun, right? That's cute and magical. That is, when you have little kids. But in my adult life, other than that, like when I was doing Christmas Carol, because then I knew what I was supposed to be doing. And I was part of the holiday season. 12 damn shows a week. I mean, like I don't know. I think that since then, being an actor, the holiday season has always felt very weird. And then Augie did Christmas Carol for several years. So I had that back in my life. Like that's what it was. It wasn't me, but every night he went and did the Christmas cheer. And then on Christmas Eve, you know where you're going to be because there's a show. There was something about that I liked a lot. And miss in the holidays.
I think that's one of the great things about the holidays is that there's a structure to it. There's some sort of tradition. Maybe you get together on Christmas Eve and have, I don't know, prime rib or whatever. But there's just something that's regular about it, and then I take a lot of comfort in patterns, I suppose.
You do.
Doing the same thing over and over again.
I think part of that, the problem is that once my life got grown up, there were fewer patterns. We talked about the one real tradition that our little family insisted upon was Festivus just because we didn't have any other ones, because we often, just because of reasons. We did not have that. And then the things that we do sort of every year, I guess, are not that fun. And we don't, I don't know. It's just fun. I don't have that. And that's exactly what I'm saying, is that back in the day when I was an actor, I liked that. I knew that I was part of the Christmas machine or something. But that's also interesting. I prefer being on the side of that side, not enjoying the merry. I don't really want to go see the Nutcracker. I mean, I might, but boy, it was fun making a show. Yeah, that's funny. I'd rather be on that side of it though, almost always.
Have you listened to the most recent episode of John and Merlin?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of talk about the Nutcracker.
Yes, there was.
And about the bah humbug and the lies we tell ourselves that we don't like people. And
that was interesting. The folder of people suck, and how we just right. That's a construct.
If someone wants to jump into these two, the podcast, the weekly discussion between these two people that our show is kind of modeled on, I recommend they check out that most recent episode.
I know, it's good. It's Roderick on the line. And I thought that was interesting because I've really related to it, that sometimes we bond with people over what we hate together.
Mm-hmm.
And then that there's just this big organization folder we throw thoughts and ideas into anymore at this age or whatever, just going, people suck. I was thinking about that. I was listening to it on my walk yesterday, actually, Andrew. And I remember one time, it is Christmas relevant. You were in Prague. And it wasn't even me. It was a friend of mine whose daughter at Catholic school, little kid, drew names for Christmas. It got the Christmas, the giving tree, that kind of thing. Got the requests from the family that they're going to support the poor family who needs help, right? And you teach your kids this, like, there are children in the world who don't have toys, that kind of thing. And this friend of mine asked me, and then I remember asking you, like, Andrew, what do you make of this? I was seriously looking for, like, your take on it. They got the name, and it was like the names of this family of 4, and it was like the requests, the things on their gift list, wish lists were including very expensive perfume, Nike shoes that cost $400. And I mean, my friend was just like, whoa. Like, these are not things we buy ourselves at Christmas. That's not the kind of money we spend. Mm-hmm. We were looking at like hierarchy of need here. We thought this was a hungry, needy family, and they want fancy perfume.
They may be hungry and needy, but all they want are luxuries.
Either way. And so I remember saying to you, Andrew, what do you make of this? And your response, which actually comforted me at the time, was, people suck. Sometimes it's really helpful. Sometimes it is helpful to stop pondering or mind-fucking the thing that is unknowable. Sometimes it actually is a dismissive response to things, but sometimes it has been helpful to me to just go put that into the category of people suck. Stop worrying about it. Let it be.
Don't try to make sense of it.
Don't try to make sense of it. Don't try to worry about it. Don't feel bad about it. Don't read into it. Just leave it and go, people suck. If you don't want to buy those gifts for those people, next, choose a different family or whatever they did, right? But then John and Merlin were making this case of how often we do that in this way that becomes problematic.
Mm-hmm. John,
of just saying
a person who loves the arts had to convince himself to go to this new hip hop version of the Nutcracker, and he's like, why do I even have to convince myself? This is the thing I used to love to do, but I suppose I've been telling myself over and over again that people suck and I don't want to go out.
Yeah,
that it's become true, even though I know for a fact that when I go there I'll have a great time and I'll be
right. And he said that, like, why didn't I used to be the person in my youth. I related to that too, because of course in my youth and like even when I first got married, it was like I just assumed we would have season tickets to the theater. We did at first. Tal wasn't into it. We had season tickets to friggin' DU hockey more than we had it to the theater. But even that was going out and doing something, right? Mm-hmm. Well, right now in my life, personally, I have no dearth of going out. Hey, listeners, Mrs. Filholm here. Sorry about the rather abrupt ending to this week's show. What had happened was Andrew and I got carried away and we talked for much longer than we intended. So as our holiday gift to you, we're splitting that recording session into 2 parts. The show that comes out today and one even shorter show next week. We hope you enjoy your time with friends and family for the holidays. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And above all, we hope you bring the ruckus.